Well, hello there, and welcome to Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus, powered by Fairway Food Stores. Hunter, what do you get in Fairway this week? Maybe a little popsicles?
I think I'm gonna get. Yeah, that's actually probably better than what I'm feeling like grilling, but I don't know if today's gonna be the day. Today's gonna be like the hottest day so far.
It is. It's going to be hot today. Yeah, grilling. It's a good time to grill. It's a good time to go get. Maybe go get some fruits and veggies. Let's say you were just at the doctor. They told you got high cholesterol. You can go get your bananas, your apples, all that stuff. Wherever you are in life, Fairway Food Stores has you. And we have you, assuming that you're wanting to listen to people talk about high school baseball and softball. Hunter, we are now officially in the midst of summer sports.
Yes, sir.
Baseball, softball. I've seen obviously Southeast Conference play, Super Conference play. I've seen Cardinals, so I've seen South Central. We're getting our fill of baseball and softball. You, Hunter, we're at one of the hottest rivalries in the Union sports area. On Thursday night, Washington High School played host to the rival Mount Pleasant Panthers. Hope he gets up for rivalries. As we all know, Hunter, tell me what happened.
Yeah, well, let's start with softball because that's where I stopped first. Obviously, Washington now ranked number 9 in Class 3A. And really, the Demons pretty much done what they've done so far to about every Southeast Conference opponent. 9-0 win over Mount Pleasant in this one. Really, Washington wasted no time to take control. Planted 5 runs in the bottom of the first inning. Mount Pleasant kind of struggled to respond offensively, managed only 2 hits against Washington's 3-pitcher rotation on the night. That's the thing, we've seen these same pitchers for Washington for 3 years now since they were freshmen. And they've just, they've only grown, and obviously we're seeing that. We've seen it the past couple of years and, really, really into this year as well. But Bella Salazar opened the scoring with an RBI single in the first. After Mount Pleasant's Jolyn Martin recorded a ground out, Demon freshmen Mackenzie Messer and Natalie Hartman, 2 freshmen. Obviously, and that's another thing about Washington. A lot of young talent showing out as well early. They each had some clutch hits. Messer drove in 2 with the single, and Hartman cleared the bases with the 2-run double. So that gave Washington the 5-0 lead. Offensive pressure continued in the second inning with 2 outs. Olivia Anderson launched a 2-run homer over the left field fence, widening the margin to 7-0. And then in the 5th, Leighton Salazar kind of added the final blow, if you will, with the 2 RBI single, basically sealing the victory there. For Mount Pleasant, Peyton Ensminger and Parker Coleman each had a hit, but they fall after this game. They fall to 2-9, 0-3 in conference play. Obviously, Washington 3-0 after this one, but we know that they played again. You saw them play again, but Washington now 7-1 overall, shares the top spot in the SEC with Fairfield, which I guess I shouldn't say that now because that's changed, but because they played on Monday night, and you'll get into that. But yeah, so a big night there in SEC play for Washington, and then they also were in action over the weekend. I'll just run through what happened there. They were in Iowa City West on Saturday, lost a pair of games 3-1 to number 6 Cedar Rapids Prairie, and then 10-2 to Davenport West. And then on Saturday, they were at the University of Iowa softball complex. Some mixed results. They did get a 5-2 victory over number 2 ranked Durant in 2A, and then they lost 14-1 to number 3 Assumption, which is a team that they've ran into in the postseason about basically the last 2 years. Well, last year was Central League. I guess the year before that was Assumption. Maybe the year before that was Assumption. But so a team they've been familiar with late in the season. Lost 14-1 to them. And then Mount Pleasant was also in action over the weekend. Played in the Holy Trinity Catholic Classic. They defeated Waco 19-1, but were defeated by Holy Trinity 8-2. So that's on the softball side. Let's jump into some baseball because this game was very interesting. Obviously, both of the teams searching for their first Southeast Conference win of the season. Actually, I think that might be wrong. I think Mount Pleasant might have. I can't remember. I think they might have got a win before that. But It was it was all Demons early, and it felt like Mount Pleasant just couldn't get anything going at the plate. But it ended up being a 9-3 victory for Mount Pleasant in this one. But it didn't start out like that. Washington jumped out to a 3-0 lead in the first 2 innings, held Mount Pleasant hitless and scoreless at that time, obviously. But then the Demons offense kind of went quiet after that, obviously. 9-3 finish, never scored again. And the Mount Pleasant kind of slowly seized control. Got on the board in the third inning thanks to this was kind of an interesting sequence. There was a passed ball, still without a hit at that point. The Demons catcher, which was Rugg, couldn't find the ball, and really no one was like kind of pointing it out. So they were just all standing around for what felt like 30 seconds, and then that allowed a run to score. And then in the fourth, the Briar Bender delivered the Panthers' first hit of the game in the fourth inning. A 2 RBI double sparked kind of a momentum shift in the game. And then with the bases loaded, Peyton Walker, a grounder, followed by an error, led to the game-tying run. The Mount Pleasant added 2 more when Brayton Hudson was hit by a pitch. J.C. Sitar then drew a walk. Both of those were with the bases loaded, so that made it 5-3. And then the Panthers, as I mentioned, who just had 1 hit through 4 innings, ended with 6. And tacked on 4 more runs across the 6th and 7th frames to seal that win. So Walker, Hudson, Sitar each drove in 2 runs for Mount Pleasant. Bender, Griffin Jones chipped in 1 apiece, and on the mound, Walker pitched 6 strong innings. Gave up 5 hits, 3 runs, only 1 of those earned, with 2 walks and 9 strikeouts. So nice showing for him. For Washington, Mitchell Ziglowski and Connor Leadon each had an RBI. Ethan Peebler and Ziglowski combined for 6 hits, 9 runs, 3 earned, 6 walks, struck out 3 on the mound. So with the win, Mount Pleasant, obviously, looking back at last week, obviously it changed a little bit with the games on Monday. They're 4-5 overall, 1-2 in conference play. My kid just grabbed my dog bowls and is now throwing them around. Washington falls to 1-5, 0-3 in league play. And then on Friday, Washington also was in action. They took on Lone Tree, beat them 17-0. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you go take care of that chaos, Hunter. Oh, look, we got some Hunter wedding photos. I was there. Check this out. Got some Andy wedding photos. Anyway, while Hunter was taking care of business in Washington, I was in Lee County, Fort Madison, Iowa. Fairfield was at Fort Madison. Now, if I could just complain to everyone for a second. The only problem with covering the single SEC game, which is on Thursdays, in Fort Madison is that Fort Madison is the only place in the Southeast Conference. Burlington sometimes they switch up a little bit, but consistently Fort Madison is the only place where the baseball and softball games are miles away from each other. But I caught a little bit of each game, and each game was a win for the Fairfield Trojans. First off, softball-wise, it was a 13-4 win for the Trojans, but 13 of those 17 runs were scored in the 6th inning. It was 3-1 Fairfield going into the 6th, and the Trojans put up 10 runs on them, including a 2-run homer by Lily Berggren, her first of the year. She had 3 hits in this thing. Leah Helmick had a couple of hits in this thing. Let me read off the other multi-hit. Olivia Hollander, 2 hits. Emma Scepter, 2 hits. Vanessa Kessel, 2 hits. Haley Eklund, 3 hits. So the Trojans ran away with that in the 6th. Leah Helmick had the win in the circle, and that moved them at the time to 3-0 in conference play, which did at the time knock them up with Washington. We'll get more into that a little later. But on the baseball field, so here's a fun story. I started at baseball, wrong decision. Through about 3 innings of Fairfield and Fort Madison baseball. Ball maybe got hit out of the infield like 1 time. It was straight up a pitcher's duel. Didn't get a lot of good pictures. I leave at 0-0 heading into the 4th, right? Because I got to get to softball. I know that softball, you never know. I don't know what's going on over there. They start at the same time. It's all the way across town at Baxter Sports Complex. The baseball games played at the high school. Get to softball. They're like, yo, you just missed a 10-run inning. Berggren hit a home run. Game's pretty much almost over. So I got the pictures I could there. I was like, yeah, it stinks because I was over at baseball, nothing happened. And then someone had informed me that Luke Console had broken up the 0-0 game in the top of the fourth with a home run of his own that I missed. I was probably stepping into my car to leave when he launched one out of there. The Trojans also scored one in the fifth, and then for Madison scored a run in the bottom of the sixth, so it did get real dicey. It was a 2-run lead that turned into a 2-1 lead. And they had DePaul starting pitcher Carson Elmore, who up to that point was excellent. He ends up throwing 92 pitches in this thing, strikes out 7 batters. So watch out, because another good start for Fairfield. They already have a couple of kids that are consistent in these SEC games pitching like that. Anyway, Fort Madison can't score again. 2-1 Fairfield, which at the time brought them to 3-0. But now let me go ahead and tell you what happened Monday night. So 3 nights ago, if you're watching this on Thursday, I need a haircut. Look at this. Look at this. This is what they call salt and pepper. Do you guys see the gray? Anyway, softball. And if Hunter's listening, we got to see what happens when 3-0 Fairfield and 3-0 Washington meet on the softball fields. Washington, 9th ranked coming into this thing at Fairfield. Used to be the place of nightmares for Washington softball. I remember covering games even when Washington was on their rise and maybe had dipped ahead of Fairfield a little bit. They just could not win at this place. Last year, they got a couple wins, 1 or 2. I forget if the doubleheader was in Fairfield last year. This year, Washington wins them 15-6, 10-1. Let me tell you about this game 1, though. Fairfield had rallied back from early deficit to make it a 6-5 game. Fairfield was at one point down 6-1 in the top of the second. They had rallied. They had a 6-5 game. They had loaded the bases in the bottom of the third. Looked like Fairfield's going to take the lead here midway through this game. There was a double play where there was a fly out to left field, and they ruled that the runner tagging from third left early. So that helped Bella Salazar wiggle out of it in the circle, and then she snapped right back into her old self, only gave up 1 run for the rest of the game in the circle. Meanwhile, Washington all over the place offensively. 5 runs in the fourth, 2 in the sixth, 2 in the seventh. So the Demons run away with that one. A couple highlights from this. Leighton Salazar, 3 for 5, which maybe barely made her batting average tick up just a tiny bit, going 3 for 5. Had a double. Colby Griner, 3 for 4 with a couple of doubles, couple of RBIs. Natalie Hartman had a couple of RBIs. Hallie Cuddeback had a couple of RBIs. Bella Salazar with a couple of RBIs. Livy Anderson with a couple of RBIs. I'll tell you what let me read off the game 2 stats, because game 2 is more of a blowout. This one finished in 5 innings. But as I read off these Washington stats here, which Salazar got 3 hits again. Leighton, that is. Colby Griner, Ella Griner, and Bella Salazar had 2 hits. RBI leader, and this one was Ella Griner with 3. Hunter, the top, really the entire Washington lineup. But you step into the top 5 or 6 hitters in the Washington lineup as a defense, I feel like you're hoping to maybe get 2 of them out. You almost can't even imagine going 1, 2, 3 in the first inning against Washington with those batters. You're lucky if you don't have one bounce off the fence. But it'll be interesting, and it has been interesting to see Washington play some of the better teams in the tournaments and stuff. But Fairfield's playing really good too, and something about Washington, they just keep coming at you. And by the way, Colby Griner pitched in that second game, only gave up 2 hits, 1 to Lainey Norris, 1 to Faith Jones. So Washington runs with that. Now Washington, Hunter, is 5-0 in SEC play with sweeps over Fairfield and Burlington, who I would think you would consider the other 2 favorites, or the 2 that would have been chasing Washington coming into this year.
Yeah, I think, so far this season, I think it's safe to say that, Washington's kind of asserted itself at the top. You and I talked about, Burlington kind of probably being that other team because that's how it was in the past, and they returned.
Yes.
A lot of. I know they obviously lost the Plummer girl who was an all-state pitcher, but returned a lot of pieces. Obviously, they were ranked. Both of those teams were ranked to begin the season for a reason. And the way Washington handled them, and has handled everybody else. Right now it's kind of the Demons, and everyone else is looking to get back on top.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the Demons and everyone else right now in softball because they would need to drop at least a couple of games to let anybody back in it because now everybody's got 2 losses. But baseball-wise, totally different story so far. Washington coming into this game they were 0-3 in SEC play. They had led in 2 of those games. They had led in a lot of games, but they ended up losing at the end there. And first game goes all Fairfield 9-0. Dane Burkhardt on the mound for Fairfield. I would like to look up to see what their SEC record is with him pitching the last few years. Rolled through it. Didn't get into too much trouble. And on the other side, early on, Connor Layden, who got the start, was pitching well. Ended up giving up 4 runs over his 3 innings, but only 1 of those was earned. But that's, of course, all that Fairfield would have needed, but they did score a few throughout the game. Offensively, 3 hits for Luke Consul, triple for Case Miller, 3 hits for Aiden Westerkamp and Ethan Bisgard. So Fairfield rolls through game 1. Game 2 comes around. Sometimes in these double headers, after you get blown out in one game, you kind of start to pick it up a little bit. In the second game, it's almost like I feel like sometimes they're just like happy that game 1's over and now they've got a new life. Washington comes out here swinging in game 1. They were scoring early, scored 3 runs in the first inning as I get the line score up here. They led the game the entire time. At one point, even leading 6-2. They scored 2 in the first inning, 4 in the second. They led 6-2 up until the bottom of the 4th. Bottom of the 4th, Fairfield cut it. Is this right? 6-2. Yeah. Bottom of the 4th, Fairfield scores 1. Bottom of the 5th, Fairfield scores 2. So it's 6-5 heading into the last inning. Last inning, Washington scores a run on an error. So now it's 7-5 going into the bottom of the 7th. Leadoff hitter for Fairfield hits one into left. Not sure if they ruled it a double or a error. I'll check that up for the story, but was misplayed in left field. That put somebody on second. Couple walks, couple hit batters. All of a sudden, Fairfield's starting to walk around the bases and ends up Dane Burkhardt up with the bases loaded. Tie game. Draws the walk-off walk. So the last 3 hitters on this are hit by pitch, walk. That's how they got their 3 runs. And devastating loss for Washington because that's the 3rd of 5 SEC games they played where they had the lead late and have not been able to win any of those games. And a huge one for Fairfield, who is now 5-0. Here's some hitting stats for you, by the way. For Washington, Connor Layden had 3 hits. Nate Edmonds had 2 hits and a double. Connor Layden also had a double in this thing. Washington hit the ball pretty well. And then Fairfield had a couple hit days out of Aiden Westerkamp, who had 2 doubles on the day. Ethan Bisgard, 2 for 4 with another home run. He's hit 2 home runs at games I've been at, and I've not actually seen either of them because they were both while I was watching the other game. And 2 RBIs for Bisgard, 2 RBIs for Dason Workman, and a winner on the mound for this one. Bisgard, did he technically get the win? No, of course not, because it was a walk-off. But Workman got the win in 2 innings of relief, but Bisgard did pitch 5 innings. So, big one for Fairfield. They're now 5-0. Burlington is 5-0 in baseball. Because Burlington they've beaten the Lee County teams. Burlington has not faced Fairfield, obviously, and Burlington has not faced Mount Pleasant. Burlington plays in Mount Pleasant on Thursday night, and you're going to talk about the Panthers, how they did against Keokuk. But shaping up right now, where Burlington and Fairfield are the favorites here with I think Mount Pleasant still creeping on them a little bit. So Mount Pleasant was in Keokuk on Monday night, did pretty well for themselves. Hunter, take it away.
Yeah, coming into this, specifically in Mount Pleasant baseball, it almost feels like must wins now. Especially going into Keokuk, and they did what they needed to do. Picked up a pair of conference wins to kind of keep themselves not completely out of it if they would have lost, but definitely would have been a lot harder. But ended up winning 4-2 and 15-2 on the night. And also that was on Monday, and then also I'll get into the Oskaloosa game last night. Beat Oskaloosa 6-0. So really hot start to the week for Mount Pleasant. Let's just run through the Oskaloosa game real quick, and since it was last night. But the Panthers struck early in this one, and really, they had a run in the top of the first, but were held scoreless up until the fifth inning, and that's kind of when their offense came alive. Planted three more to extend the lead to 4-0, and then they added two insurance runs in the seventh to win that one last night. Zach Newton on the mound, obviously kind of the Panthers' ace this year, I'd say. Tossed a complete game, shutout, while giving up 6 hits. Panthers defense backed him up well with a clean performance in the field. Offensively, the team collected just 5 hits, but made them count. Cooper Coleman led the way with 2 doubles and 4 RBIs. J.C. Sitar also chipped in an RBI, while Grayson Lowry scored twice. Brayton Hudson, Jack Newman, Brody Clark, and Caden Beavers each crossed the plate as well. And then getting into the Keokuk games on Monday, had a battle behind from against Keokuk in Game 1. Chiefs led 1-0 after 2 innings and then 2-1 after 3. But Mount Pleasant surged after that. 3 unanswered runs in the 5th and 6th to take the win. Lowry had 3 hits in that game, while Sitar and Newton each drove in runs. And then Game 2 was basically a runaway. Mount Pleasant exploded for 15 runs in the first 3 innings, probably the biggest offensive outage by Mount Pleasant this season. That included a 9-run second frame. And then they cruised to a 5-inning victory there with the 15 runs. So Mount Pleasant now 7-5 on the season. They'll look to keep that alive against, like you mentioned, really tough Burlington team on Thursday.
Yeah, and I'm surprised. You surprised me. You said that Newton pitched against Oskaloosa. I wonder if they'll have Mr. Lowry going against Burlington instead. Save Newton for next week's games.
That's what I'm wondering.
But looking at the kind of the layout of the SEC right now, Burlington and baseball, Burlington and Fairfield undefeated. They'll face off next week. But Burlington's got a little bit of a situation with pitching, what they're going to do, because they have 3 marquee games at Mount Pleasant, and then they go right over to I believe that means that Burlington plays Fairfield next week for sure. I'll look at the schedule, but that's it. Everybody's played each other by then, right? So huge one on Thursday. Mount Pleasant's chance to kind of stay in the race here with Burlington and Fairfield looking so good. Although there are a little landmines. I mean, as I said, Fairfield had a tight one against Washington, had a tight one against Fort Madison. So I don't think necessarily that you expect the champion this year to be a undefeated or one-loss team, especially with how many SEC games there are. But a big one on Thursday, and then again, SEC softball. Yeah, it's Washington and everybody chasing them.
I'll let me run through Mount Pleasant. I didn't talk about Mount Pleasant against Keokuk in softball, so I'll run that through.
Oh yes.
So obviously Mount Pleasant girls playing softball against Keokuk. Ended up splitting on the night, up and down night for Mount Pleasant. Dropped the first game 11-3. Keokuk's Ada Wood has kind of been their go-to pitcher for a number of years now. She was pretty stellar in the circle. Pitched a complete game, struck out 11, and then at the plate she added 2 RBIs as well to kind of power them. For Mount Pleasant, Keegan Coleman, Sage Burchett, and those 2 both drove in a run. Parker Coleman, Jolyn Martin, and Peyton Ensmere collected 2 hits apiece. Game 2 saw a big shift offensively for Mount Pleasant. They swung pretty well in Game 1, but in Game 2, 15 hits for the Panthers. probably their best hitting performance of the season. A 14-9 victory for them in that one. As I mentioned, 15 hits, 11 RBIs, fueled kind of by a big second inning. Jolynn Martin led the charge with a 2-run homer. She finished with 4 RBIs on the night. Ensminger and Chaley Cook each chipped in RBI doubles during that offensive burst there. And then Ensminger and Izzy Sloat both finished with 3 hits. Keegan Coleman, Parker Coleman, and Martin each tallied 2. Cook went the distance in the circle, allowed 14 hits, 9 earned runs while striking out 2. So Mount Pleasant now 3-10 on the season. And obviously a big contest against a tough Burlington team on Thursday. But, if Mount Pleasant can find a way to pick up a couple wins, second place in the SEC they're still not in second, but that would definitely shake some things up as the race for second kind of comes down with, you got Fairfield, Fort Madison's kind of in there too. Burlington's obviously there, and then Mount Pleasant looking to kind of get in that spot.
Yeah, this Thursday is a big one for Mount Pleasant. They've got Burlington at home. That would be the game that I think if they could upset Burlington, they could still kind of stay. They could sneak up in that tier. Otherwise you're getting a big space between Burlington, Fairfield, Fort Madison a little bit, and the other two. Although Mount Pleasant and Fort Madison do still have to play on the softball field as well. They haven't played any games, so we'll see how that all shakes out. When we come back from commercial, you'll see how the small school action shaked out last night. We're going to talk a little small schools, talk about who's impressed us. I saw a lot of runs last night, so you'll learn about that. Stick with us. We'll be back.
Introducing Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every meal is a delight. Start your day with our mouthwatering breakfast options and savor flavorful lunches with friends and family. Cap off your day with our delectable dinners. Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every moment is delicious.
The Connie and Amanda team is dedicated to giving back to our community by actively engaging with our clients, businesses, and the public. When it comes to helping you find your next home, investment, or commercial space, the Connie and Amanda team is here for you.
I love helping people. I always wanted to help people. That's what I love the most.
We do a really good job of growing our own, but also we are able to take your skills, adapt them to what we need, or grow them as well.
Our leadership group here, they are actively involved, always supportive of our new ideas and innovation here at the hospital.
Washington County Hospital and Clinics. Apply today.
Hello. Welcome back. Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus, powered by Fairway. We are here in the summer. New kids on the net. Shout out to what band plays that song? In the summer.
I can't remember.
It's called Summer Girls. That's what the name of the song is.
I don't remember.
Had it on the tip of my tongue. I'll figure it out by the end of the show. Hunter, you're going to talk about some New Lundy baseball, softball. Apologies, I sent you thinking that New London baseball started at 5:30 yesterday, and apparently they had both of them start at 7. Schedule was wrong. Andy was wrong. But you got to see a couple games in beautiful Donaldson, Iowa. Tell me how those went, and then he's going to run through some baseball scores.
Yes, sir. Let's start with the softball game. Obviously, we know centrally as can break some hearts. B Washington upset Washington last year in the second round, I think, of the postseason.
Yep.
They beat some good teams this year. But beat New London last night 9-1. The Hawks got some big hitters. They came out swinging. They put up 6 runs in the dominant first inning to take immediate control of the game. And New London just really kind of never had an answer offensively. Essentially extended that lead in the second. Kenna Sandoval, which has kind of been their standout player, for a couple. Well, since he's only a junior, since she's kind of been in the program, hit a 2-run homer, pushed that lead to 8-0. Despite a pretty strong defensive effort from New London the rest of the way, only allowed just one more run. They couldn't mount a comeback against the Hawks. So They managed that lone run in the third inning, but were kind of held in check the rest of the night. So with the loss, New London drops to 1-10 on the season. They'll aim to bounce back on Thursday against a pretty solid Mediapolis team. And on the baseball side of things, obviously Centrally, pretty solid team themselves. It was kind of a tough night offensively for New London. Ended up managing just 2 hits in a 4-0 road loss. Hung with their Super Conference South opponent through 6 innings, but it was really that opening inning that made the biggest difference in the night. 3-run first inning by Centrally, and New London really couldn't overcome that. Memphis Watson reached second base in the top of the first inning, but New London couldn't capitalize and never really could get beyond second base through the first 4 innings of the night. Central Lee starter Chase Johnson was pretty stellar on the mound early, throwing 5 innings of 1-hit baseball, striking out 9. And really the tone of the game was set early when sophomore Blake Davis, crushed a solo homer about 360 feet over the center field wall. And then they added 2 more runs in that opening frame. Mentioned that 3-run first inning, and then tacked in 1 more in the 5th to round out their scoring on the night. But offensively, Gavin Strawhacker and Tate Welcher each tallied a hit for the Tigers. Watson pitched 5 innings, allowing 7 hits, 4 earned runs, and struck out 4. He also swiped 2 bases. Strawhacker closed the game with 1 inning in relief, and he had a strikeout there. So Centrally had 8 hits on the night. New London falls in that one, and they'll be playing Mediapolis as well on Thursday. And obviously, Mediapolis now rank, I believe, number 7 in Class 2A. These 2 teams did play already once, and it was a one-run loss for New London. I think it was 4-3. I know I'd have to go back and look. I'm not sure who pitched in that game, but I do know I can't remember the kid's name from Mediapolis. He has like a 1.2 ERA or something like that. So I don't know if he played against New London or not. But anyway, long story short, the Tigers hung with a pretty darn good team, and the Tigers did beat Notre Dame, who was ranked at one point in time. So New London, kind of a dangerous team in that Super Conference.
They are. They're getting dangerous again. You can kind of feel it. So the Super South's pretty solid this year. Got a lot of good teams, and yeah, you mentioned Mediapolis is having a breakout year, and Notre Dame's always good. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yes, sir. Do you want me to run through the some of these other scores real quick, or do you want?
Yeah, why don't you run through those the other baseball scores, and then I'll take you through some softball. I only had softball last night.
All right, some of these scores coming in from Monday night. Let me see real quick if the Tuesday night scores pop up here for me. Okay. I'll try to click through. Hopefully it loads pretty quick, but I have these tabs pulled up. I have the Monday scores pulled up right now. So in the South Iowa Cedar League, obviously Sigourney, I believe, ranked number 2 in Class 1A. So very, very good team down there or up there. Keota took on them on Monday night, ended up losing 10-1 in that one. Over in the Super Conference South, New London did beat Wapello 10-0 that night. Van Buren and Hillcrest Academy go the distance. 3-2 win for Van Buren County there. So nice win for them. Central Lee defeats Winfield Mount Union 11-3. And then Notre Dame beats Pekin 11-1. Let me see if the tab will load here real quick. See if anybody here. So New London Central Lee last night. Van Buren County defeats Danville 7-0. Interesting score here. West Burlington falls by 1 run to Mediapolis 10-9, and New London lost to West Burlington 1-0. So I mean, the Super Conference South is kind of an interesting little race thus far. Basically, all the scores have been kind of close between those kind of top tier teams.
Yeah, and there really aren't too many bottom tier teams in the Super South this year.
Really, there's not. Let me see. The North, I already mentioned all those North teams that played here. Let's jump into Tuesday. Highland defeats Louisa Muscatine 3-2. Hillcrest Academy bounces back with a 2-0 win over Lone Tree. And then in the South Central Conference, a lot of teams in here. On Monday, Cardinal defeats Centerville 10-4. And then that was a doubleheader. So Cardinal defeats Centerville again 5-1. So pair wins for Cardinal. Sometimes we forget about Cardinal over there, but they've been playing pretty good.
Very good. I believe Cardinal is second in the South Central Conference. To Cheriton is ranked, and they're in first, and Cardinal had a real close game against them too. So Cardinal's going to be super dangerous. We have, and by the way, Cardinal plays in Class 2A, same as Mediapolis, same as Mid Prairie.
Yep. Speaking of Mid Prairie, let's run through the River Valley South real quick. Mid Prairie obviously is kind of right on the cusp of the rankings. I've seen. I think they were ranked at one point and then kind of bumped out. And heading into Monday night, they had just one loss. And they played a West Liberty team that's ranked, and tough night for them. They end up losing 3-2 against West Liberty and then 7-6. So a couple tough losses there, but keep an eye out for Mid Prairie because one thing's for sure in recent years, Mid Prairie knows how to get the job done when the postseason comes around, and they're looking pretty dangerous again. But other than that, it says West Liberty and Mid Prairie played on Tuesday as well, but there's no scores for that, so that might be like a little typo or something. I don't know, but anyway, that's all the scores from around the area. The rest of the baseball scores.
Speaking of Mid Prairie, by the way, I kind of missed this in all the SEC stuff, but Mid Prairie and Fairfield did play on Friday, and a 12-11 walk-off win for Mid Prairie. They went into the last inning tied. Actually, they went to the eighth inning tied. They went into extra innings. Fairfield scored one on the top of the eighth, and then Mid Prairie scored a couple on the bottom. So good game for two of our better baseball teams in general. Softball. We're going to start with so I'll just chime in on the game that I saw last night when it gets to that game. But we'll talk. I'm going to go Monday first. Softball scores. Super North. We had Columbus. Well, actually, you know what? These are all going to be crossover games anyway against Monday. So I'll start with the New London game. Wapello beats New London 8-2. Centrally 8 over Columbus. A win for Van Buren County 9-2 over Hillcrest Academy. We had a loss from Pekin. Holy Trinity Catholic softball team's looking pretty good. 18-1 over Pekin. And then Highland 11-2 over Mediapolis in a formerly formerly Super North matchup. In the South Iowa Cedar League on Monday, Keota played against 14th ranked Sigourney. Now, Keota hasn't been the softball school lately, but this is showing a 3-0 win for Sigourney over Keota. Sigourney, a ranked team, a team.
They just won the state championship last year.
Yeah, a very, very good team. A team that has not lost to Keota since they started tracking it on Varsity Bound. So Keota's won a couple games this year. They beat Montezuma. They beat Iowa Valley. So, yeah, keep an eye out over there. I remember a couple years ago, you would go down to Keota and you're hoping they score a couple runs. Now all of a sudden they're getting wins. In the why don't we jump over to the South Central Conference where our Cardinal Comets reside. I really should just do these conference by conference instead of day by day, but I won't. Cardinal falls to Centerville 3-0. By the way, Centerville the next night came over and beat Fairfield softball last night too. So Centerville has victimized two of our teams back to back. So Cardinal softball also right there in the race. Centerville's kind of one of those teams that are real close to them. They kind of fight for third. And then River Valley Conference from Monday night, River Valley South, because that's all we care about, Mid Prairie. And in the River Valley South, the Mid Prairie Golden Hawks fall 13-0 to the 10th ranked West Liberty Flames Lightning. What's West Liberty? Bears.
Comets.
There we go. The Comets. My brain slipped up there. Some of those teams up there in the River Valley, like the team nicknames kind of mess with me a little bit. Mid Prairie did not play last night in softball. No, not last night. Mid Prairie did not play Tuesday night. If you're watching this on Thursday, that's not last night. That's 2 nights ago. Cardinal did not play last night, and Same with Kyoto, I believe, in the South Iowa Cedar. So let's go to the Super Conference. Super Conference North, Hunter. Picture it. Waco and Pekin, two of our teams. Wayland, Iowa, beautiful Wayland, Iowa. Close our eyes. Beautiful night in Wayland, Iowa. The Waco softball field, a field that I got used to, and they didn't use it for a few years, but they're back at it. And a lot of runs for the Pekin Panthers, Hunter. A lot of runs for the Pekin Panthers. In fact, 28 runs for the Pekin Panthers. Early on, it was there were some defensive mess ups by Waco for sure that helped Pekin kind of load the bases and keep going. Eventually, Pekin just started smashing the ball. I shouldn't say eventually because Carly Gamble tripled to the fence on the very first pitch of the game. But there was a common theme where Pekin had a few big hits. A few of them they went up in the air. Gamble, I think, had a foul ball homer. A couple of girls hit them to the fence. You thought, we might see a home run today. And then last inning, Maya Bainbridge, the lone senior for the Pekin Panthers, blasts one into left, one hops, hits a truck. And so 28-4 for Pekin last night. It wasn't much to say other than that. It was one of those games where offensively they were just able to run around the bases. Actually, when they were down 12-0, Waco loaded the bases and had a couple shots there. They scored 4. Looked like they might get it down to single digits, but could never do it. Elsewhere in the North, Highland goes to Louisa Muscatine, third-ranked. Louisa Muscatine only loses 4-1. Watch out, Highland. Some of those early scores for Highland were a little tricky because you still had golf and track kids. Highland softball looking pretty good. Hillcrest Academy falls 15-4 to Lone Tree in North Division play. Now scheduled on the schedule, they have Columbus WMU. That would have been last night, but WMU of course plays with the New London Tigers, and you already talked about New London WMU. Yes, so maybe I should talk about the Van Buren County Warriors going to Danville and pick up an 8-2 win. They had to come back from 4-0 down in this one, Hunter. So Van Buren County starting to rattle together some wins on the softball fields. I was looking to see if there were any homers. No, all singles for Van Buren County last night. So that's what we got for small school action. We got a crazy week in softball coming up. We got Thursday's SEC games. We got the Fairfield tournament, the Fairfield softball tournament, which includes Fairfield, Cardinal, Van Buren County, Mount Pleasant, and then 4 other pretty good teams. Fun fact, I believe that Van Buren County is playing Mediapolis in softball on Friday night. And that's a conference game, and that's just counting towards the Fairfield tournament, even though it's not in Fairfield. So there'll be one less game actually played in the Fairfield tournament because it'll be played in that Super Conference or that Super South game. When we come back, we'll say our goodbyes. We'll tell you all we'll talk about what we're thinking about. You can get inside of our minds when we get back. Our deepest, darkest thoughts will be revealed when we get back to Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus right after this.
Attention Hy-Vee shoppers, introducing Hy-Vee Perks, your ticket to exclusive savings and rewards. Access exclusive perks, prices, earn gas discounts, and unlock special deals. All this for free. Join Hy-Vee Perks today and start saving.
At Seafirst Credit Union, we're all about making connections, like how we connect you with a flexible financing you need to install that all-season room or remodel your kitchen with a home equity line of credit. Connect with SeaFirst today and see why together is better.
Bring the kids, share the memories, celebrate 75 years of traditions at the Midwest Old Threshers Reunion. Relive the magic of steam engines, antique cars, and trucks, tractors, gas engines, and horses. Whether it's your first visit or a cherished tradition, you'll enjoy the delicious foods, the thrill of an Old West shootout, and the excitement of nightly grandstand entertainment. For 75 years, this has been the place where memories are made at the 2025 Midwest Old Threshers Reunion, August 28th through September 1st in Mount Pleasant, Iowa. Visit oldthreshers.com for more details.
In the heart of rural Iowa, where community matters most, the connections we make are made to last. Meet KCTC, your hometown internet, phone, and TV provider. At KCTC, we're not just about technology, we're about people. Our dedicated team are your neighbors, committed to bringing you top-tier services right where you live. We believe in giving back to the community that raised us. Experience the power of a real connection with KCTC. Join us in building a stronger, more connected Southeast Iowa.
We're back, Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus. We're out of here pretty much. NBA Finals. Hunter, do you have an updated? It's 1-1 in the NBA Finals. You got an updated prediction?
I think Thunder get it done in 5.
Me too. I'm going to stick with my Thunder in 5. I think last night, if you're watching on Thursday, will be the decider in that, because I think this would be the game that they would win if Indiana wins. Shout out to Angel Reese, 3-time Sportswoman of the Year, BET.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know she was even 2-time Sportswoman of the Year. And I watched BET because Real Husbands of Hollywood are on BET. Great show. Shout out Kevin Hart, longtime fan of our show. Hunter, you got any thoughts? Got any shout outs?
I don't know. Nope.
Me neither. Shout out to the Indiana Fever, going to be healthy this weekend, going to beat the Liberty.
Yeah, there we go. Shout out to the Fever. That's why.
That's right. Shout out to the Fever. Shout out to the Fever. Shout out
funny,
to the
we love the Indiana Fever, but we're like, yeah, Pacers are getting walked.
Yeah, they're getting walked. Pacers have Obi Toppin, so I can't really love them because Luka Garza,
Obi Toppin took it from Luka Garza. That was crazy. That was absolutely nuts.
Totally ridiculous. It was nuts. So that's it. Peace out, everyone. See us on the fields.
We'll see you next week. Peace.